Mr. Chairman, thank you. So I heard your answer to Mr. Van Hollen before with regard, and you said, well, you normally don't like to give a comment on with regard to fiscal policy, in particular tax bills and the like. And I thought, really, Mr. Chairman? Is that still your opinion?
Yes, sir.
Because I was truly taken aback when just recently, as you know, the Fed issued an unsolicited white paper, if you will, on housing policy, where if you didn't advocate for it, you certainly mirrored much of the positions of this administration. So I don't know how the two go together. On the one hand, you say you don't get involved in these areas, but here you had a white paper that was not solicited from us. I know you're protective of your independence, but when you advocate for a position like that, why would you issue such a paper when we don't ask for it?
Well, Congressman, first, the Fed has a lot of interest in housing. It's important for the economy. It's important for monetary policy. We are bank supervisors, so we're interested in mortgage and lending and unrelated
So let me
issues.
ask you this then. Congress has a lot of interest in monetary policy. I guess the comparable would be for us to do a House resolution with regard to monetary policy. Is this an invitation now to Congress that we should be issuing resolutions to what the monetary policy that the Fed should be doing? If so, I'm sure there's a lot of members who would like to engage in it.
Well, I hear lots of advice from congressmen. But
if this
let me say, could I say the bottom line here, though, is that we've done a lot of work on this. We've gotten a lot of requests from individual congressmen for our views and for our analysis. It was not the intent of that white paper to provide a set of recommendations. There was not a list of recommendations at the end of the white paper. We were trying to provide pros and cons, analysis, background. I'm sorry if you think we went too far, but we tried to provide useful information.
But within 24 hours after that paper out, you know, the New York Fed president was out there basically advocating for some of the positions in there. Governor Elizabeth Duke was out there basically advocating for some positions out there. So you can't be on both sides of the issue where we're just saying this is what we think, and then the Fed president, the governor's coming out there saying advocating. And if it's because you're saying that members were asking your opinion, well, we were asking your opinion, and we would have certainly liked to have seen a white paper back when the president's colossal failure with the stimulus was going through, and we certainly would have liked a white paper at that time from the Fed to say just how that would have all worked out. Why didn't we see a white paper at that time spelling out whether this would work and whether you advocate or didn't advocate for the...
Well, again, I know you're skeptical, but we are trying very hard to avoid encroaching on Congress's fiscal responsibilities. With respect to the points you made about Governor Duke and President Dudley, they are not representing any official position of the board. They're speaking on their own recognizance. If you pay attention to the speeches that Reserve Bank presidents give, you know there's a wide variety of opinion, not even on monetary policy. So there was no official endorsement of those positions. We are, again, trying to provide useful background. I apologize if it was misinterpreted. Again, our goal was just to be helpful.
Well, I guess I would just sort of take off of where the chairman was talking about. You have two mandates in the area of employment, the area of monetary policy, and that's obviously a lot for the Fed to be responsible for. We have a mandate in the area of fiscal policy, and we would like to retain that. Let me then go to another area. You do have a responsibility as the position they have. Well, you're the owner of about $1 trillion right now of mortgage-backed securities, right? In that position of the owner, wearing that hat, can you comment then on the President's new proposal on the refi plan? What have you looked into that? What would the impact be as far as realized losses to the balance sheet if that plan was to go through?
No, we haven't done that specific calculation. And once again, I'm not going to endorse or not endorse a specific program.
What is the cost if we were to do that?
There are costs, as the President acknowledged. There are costs to it, and they would have to be raised somehow, whether it's from a bank tax or some other way. He mentioned $5 to $10 billion. We haven't looked at that number. We don't know if it's correct or not. There would also be costs to investors,
right, and that's
including the Federal Reserve.
You're the investor in this situation. You bought these things, some would say, at a premium. So not the cost to the taxpayer, but your cost. Have you begun to look to see what your cost would be as the loss realized on those?
No, we haven't. Although we acknowledge, I think it should be acknowledged that that the rates of refinance have been extremely low, lower than expected over the last couple of years, and so in some sense that is reversing a gain that we got. But you're right. There are costs to the program. There are costs potentially to investors, and those costs to the government potentially. So
That
yes.
would be one area that we would like to have a specific information back on, and also as a regulator, what the impact would be for the banks that you regulate, what the impact would be if you increase the fees on them. And I see my time is out, but I look
Thank you,
like
Mr.
for that
Garrett.
information. Thank you.